More appropriately labeled a spree killer, Raymond Lee Stewart kept Rockford, Illinois in fear during his shooting spree in January of 1981. Raymond Lee Stewart was born in Burlington, North Carolina. He had a rough upbringing full of poverty, physical, and sexual violence. I say this not as an excuse, but as a means of trying to determine what causes or creates killers such as Stewart. The family moved to Rockford, Illinois, where Raymond went to school. He was kicked out of high school for getting into a fight with other kids over politics, according to sources. He began a life of crime that involved assault and armed robbery. He was eventually caught and served 6 years in prison for robbery. After his release, he went back to North Carolina to live with his family, but he returned to Rockford when his child was born. It was sometime after this that he went on his killing spree. It seemed as though he just snapped and crossed the line from being a robber to being a murderer. He was living in a motel on Rockford's west side, the Westwood Motel. From there, he went down the road and killed Willie Fred and Albert Pearson at Fred's grocery store, which was owned by Willie. Raymond killed him because Fred had testified against him in a robbery case that put Stewart in prison. Stewart claimed that he shot Pearson because he tried to run. Willie Fred and Albert Pearson were both African American. This mattered because Raymond's next victims were all white, and Raymond said that he murdered them for racial reasons. He told an interviewer that he was upset because the white people had killed JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. After killing Fred, Raymond killed Kevin Kaiser and Kenny Foss, both were gas station attendants. He then went down the road to Beloit, Wisconsin, where he murdered Richard Bierk and Donald Raines in a Radio Shack at the Beloit Plaza Mall. In an interview, Raymond claimed he was on his way to his mother's landlord to kill his mother's landlord when a voice told him to stop killing. He was captured and sentenced to death by lethal injection for killing Fred and Pearson. He was on trial again for killing Kaiser when he escaped the courthouse and was shot. They found him hiding in an oil drum. He was put to death on September 8, 1996 at Statesville Prison in Illinois. His last words were, "Hello to everyone, may you all have peace because of this. May my victims' families have peace." He had to have Cardinal Joseph Bernardin of the Archdiocese of Chicago to pray with him. This caused a stir because Stewart was not Catholic. His reason was because the Cardinal had recently been diagnosed with terminal cancer and felt that the Cardinal could really understand the concerns of a condemned man. I traveled to Rockford recently and investigated this killer. The city of Rockford has changed a lot since the days when Stewart committed his crime. The Westwood Motel no longer exists, and neither does Fred's grocery. I went down to the west side of Rockford, and it is a low-income area that was predominantly African American. There are a few small grocery stores and 2 old motels, the Rustic Motel and the Gold Star Motel. There was no indication of where the Westwood Motel or Fred's was located. I asked several long-term Rockford residents about the incident. They remember the shootings and what went on during the time, but none of them could place the location of the Westwood Motel or Fred's grocery. The Beloit Plaza Mall had changed several times and is now office space, and even Joliet Prison, where Stewart spent time for robbery, has ceased to function as a prison. The entire place has moved on. In my opinion, Raymond came back to Rockford and experienced some breakdown in relation to his kid. Maybe they would not have let him see the child or be a part of the kid's life, or he could not find a job because of his past and couldn't provide for the child or have a home. This led Stewart to feel that his life was worth nothing and decided to go get the man who had sent him to prison, Willie Fred. Then after killing Fred and Pearson, Raymond decided his life was over and that he should go out with a bang or serve some purpose. So he killed random white people who he felt had created the system that oppressed him. Maybe he was seeking to make himself famous in some way, like folk hero perhaps in his own mind. If it's possible to explain the twisted logic of this killer, I think it might have been what happened.